We've got a bunch of good information to share with you guys, take you guys through kind of the car wash industry. So hopefully the information we present today you guys will find valuable. So again, thanks for having me. I look forward to taking you guys through this information. First thing we're going to start off with is just kind of go through an overview of what we're going to be covering. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to take you guys through the car wash industry. And in this session is what we call our industry overview. So we're going to take you guys through the different wash models. So basically the different types of car wash models that exist on the market, how they work, what's involved. We'll take you guys through the conveyor history, kind of where conveyorized car washing came from, how it started, where it is today. Talk about the industry, how it's evolving and changing. We'll also look at the consumer study and see what is it that drives the consumers to car washes. And then we'll talk about the evolving ownership in the car wash industry. So starting off with the wash models, we'll go through the basic 5 wash models that are out there. There's a few different types, but these are kind of the main basic meat and potatoes types of car washes, if you will. So these 5 models that we're going to go through, we'll go through what's called a self-serve, in-bay automatics. We'll look at the conveyorized car washes, a few different variations of the conveyorized car washes. So starting off in here, we'll start off with the self-serve car wash. By a show of hands, how many people here currently have a car wash? How many people are suppliers? Okay, well, welcome to everybody. With the self-service car wash, these styles of car wash have been around for a really long time. The basic premise with a self-serve car wash is that a customer pulls onto the lot. You have what's called bays that are broken down where the customers will pull into to wash their vehicles. Inside these bays, once the customers pull in, they're going to pay for the car wash in different ways. Sometimes it'll take paper money, sometimes it'll work off of a coin system, credit cards, but there's going to be some way that the customer pays for the wash process. The basic idea with a self-serve car wash is that the car wash is providing the place for the customer to wash their car and the tools for the customer to wash the car, and the customer is providing the labor. So once the customer pulls into the bay, they're going to pay for the car wash. There'll usually be a high-pressure wand that's going to spray different chemicals that the customer will select through a rotary dial or through some sort of push button. There will also usually be a foaming brush that they can select to put foam out and scrub the car with the foaming brush. Some of the newer ones will also include things like air dryers inside the bays. Some of them will have tire shiners that the customers can apply tire shine by hand. But the basic premise is that the car wash is providing the tools and the spot to wash the car, and the customer is doing all the labor. The next type of car wash we have is the in-bay automatic or rollover car washes. And these style of car washes, they've been around for a long time as well. There's 2 main types of machines that are out there on the market, and those 2 types of machines are going to be what we call a touchless or a friction machine. So the touchless machine is the yellow one that you see, and there's many manufacturers that make many different types of these machines, but the basic premise remains the same. The customer pulls into a bay, the customer puts their vehicle in park, and the machine is going to go back and forth over the car to clean the car, making what we call passes. In the touchless machine, it's going to apply nothing but chemistry and high-pressure water to clean the vehicle. There's not going to be anything that touches the car wash other than chemistry and streams of water that touch the car. Usually the way the machines work, the higher priced car wash the customer pays for, the more passes or times the machine is going to go back and forth over the car, meaning that it's going to increase the duration of the wash process. The cheaper the wash, the quicker it goes back and forth, the less movement it makes. It's going to decrease the time of the wash process. The one next to it with the blue material, that's what's referred to as a friction machine. And the friction machine, again, there's many different concepts and designs on the market. But with the friction machine, it's usually going to use soft cloth or foam materials that are going to scrub the car in combination with chemistry. Both styles of machines are able to clean cars and clean cars well. The main thing that's going to control how they clean is how it's operated. The touchless sometimes is perceived by the consumers as a safer option because the friction machines, and at least in the US and some of the other major markets where these machines are popular, the operators didn't maintain the machines properly. They wouldn't use enough chemistry to provide lubrication, and the machines would get a reputation for scratching or damaging vehicles. But both of these, when operated properly, can deliver clean cars. The biggest downside to an in-bay automatic machine would be throughput, meaning how many cars it can wash in a given time frame. So different machines can wash different numbers of cars. but they are going to be limited on how many cars they can wash in a given time frame. That number will also change based on your percentage mix of what the customers are buying. If you have all your customers buying more expensive washes, the machine would be able to wash less cars during that time frame because it's going to take longer to wash. If they're buying cheaper packages, you could wash more, but it balances out because if you're washing less cars, you're getting a higher ticket average if they're buying the top washes. So it all balances out. So two different types of machines are available to wash cars with the In-Bay Automatics. The next one we'll get into is what we call conveyorized car washing. And conveyorized car washing, we'll look at a couple different models of conveyorized car washing. The first one we're going to look at is what's called a conventional exterior car wash. And in a conventional exterior car wash, you're going to have an attendant, meaning a person, a live person, that's going to welcome the customer to the car wash. So the live person will usually be standing right in this area here. They'll be over at the entrance. They're going to wait for the cars to pull in. When the car pulls in, they welcome the customer to the car wash. They educate them about the different options that are available. They try and help the customer make a decision. Once the customer purchases the wash, the customer will stay in the car. They'll get pulled around to the entrance of the tunnel. They'll be loaded on by an attendant. In a lot of cases, they're going to be hand prepping, meaning that the employees are going to provide some pre-cleaning by hand, either utilizing a brush or a prep gun. Customer will ride through the car wash. The customer will come out the other end of the car wash. When the customer comes out of the car wash, exits in this model, a lot of times in this model, they'll also be hand drying, meaning that there's going to be employees at the end with towels. They're going to towel finish the vehicle. And then after that's done, the customer essentially has two options. The customer can leave the property and exit and be done, or they can come around and utilize the vacuums to vacuum their vehicle. In this particular model, these vacuums are going to be paid for use. So the customers are going to have to pay to utilize the vacuums in this model. You can see we say here the base price is $8 to $12. That's going to be American dollars. That's typically what we see these car washes starting at for the basic wash, and then they go up from there. Not always, but that's usually the pricing range that we see these car washes start at. Been around this model for a very, very long time.
Are these US prices?
U.S. prices, yes, sir. Yeah. Everything we showed today will be in U.S. prices, and then you can do the conversions from wherever you're at, or if you want to get with me afterwards, I can help you guys do the conversions. The next style of car wash that we're going to look at, this is what we call an express exterior car wash. The express exterior car wash, these are what's extremely popular right now in the States. They're driving the growth of our industry. The industry the last couple of years has seen numbers and growth like we've never seen before. And the growth is driven by this style of car wash that you see here. With this type of car wash, it looks very similar to the model we just looked at, but there's going to be a few main differences. The first difference is going to be when the consumers pull onto the lot at the entrance. Instead of being greeted by a live person that welcomes them to the business and tries to collect the form of payment and educate them on the washes, they're now being greeted by a machine. The machines, I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen these machines. If not, there's various ones you can see here on the trade show floor. When the customer pulls up, the machine's going to usually have a person on there or a video or some sort of image that says, hi, welcome to Bob's Car Wash, or whatever the name of the business is. The menus will guide the customer through the transaction. The customer will select the type of wash service that they want. They will pay at the pay station, either utilizing cash, credit card, gift card, or unlimited plans, which are extremely popular in the States, and they're growing here in Australia with some of the customers we talk to, and all throughout Europe as well. Unlimited clubs is basically the customer at the machine. They can opt to pay a monthly price and wash the car as much as they want. So they would pay one fee at the machine. It's going to capture their credit card information and automatically bill them every month for that wash process.
Is that for only one vehicle?
Typically, it's done for a vehicle, yeah.
So you have to put your registration in, otherwise someone could use wash the whole family.
Correct. So usually the way that it's done, there's two main ways that it's done in the industry today. The two main ways that it's done is through what's called RFID, which is radio frequency identification. It's basically a tag that someone at the car wash, an employee, is going to have to affix to the front windshield of the customer's vehicle. And then if you try and remove it, it will damage the tag and render it no longer able to be used. So you attach it to the window. When the customer pulls in, it reads that tag, opens up the gate, and allows them to come in. The other way that it's being done is through a process called license plate recognition, or LPR for short. And basically that way, when the customer buys the service, it captures an image of their license plate. And every time they pull in, it's going to read the license plate. And if they're part of the club, it'll open up the gate and let them pass through the wash.
Do you find that people are coming through every day?
I would say it's like when a child gets a new toy, they use it a lot. So new members, when they first sign up, you're going to see that their usage is a little bit higher in the beginning, and then it tends to taper off. But you do have customers that will come in every day. I always tell our customers, don't get hung up on your customers that come every day. You have to look at the group as a whole and see what's the average that everybody is washing. Because you're going to have people that wash every day, and you're going to have people that wash once a month, people that wash every other month. So it kind of all balances out to a certain number that you're looking for. The other thing that you're going to see in this model, in addition to the pay stations, the other big change is going to be the price. So it's going to be a low value price. We say $3 to $10 here. That's for the basic wash. I would say most of the washes that we see in the U.S. now are starting off in the $5, $6, or $7 range for the basic level wash. And then they're going up as high as $20 to $25 for the top highest level wash at the car wash. The idea here is that there's no manual work performed. So in the previous model, where we had employees at the entrance that would hand scrub the car before, in this model, there's going to be no pre-cleaning done by the employees. The idea here is that the machine is capable of delivering a clean car without the prepping or the hand drying at the exit. In some extreme circumstances, you may have to prep if you're in an area where there's heavy amounts of bugs or lots of mud on the roads. There may be some pre-cleaning necessary. The customers will ride through the car wash just like they did in the previous model. When they come out the other end, just like in the other model, they have two options. They can either leave the property, they're done, or they choose to vacuum their vehicle. If they choose to vacuum their vehicle, they would pull around into the vacuum area. The largest difference in this model is that the vacuums are now going to be free. So the customers in the previous model where they were paying for the vacuums, in this model, the vacuums are free. There's going to be no charge for the vacuums. It's also an emphasis on speed. So it's billed as a 5-minute or less type of car wash. It's very quick. Get the consumer in, get the consumer out. One of the things when we get to the consumer studies that the consumers often tell us is speed is a very important factor in deciding where they're going to go to get their car washed. The next model that you see here, this is essentially a carryover from the previous model. But what the main difference is, this is what we would call a mini tunnel or an extreme express. So this is, instead of the other one that we just looked at where this is showing a 100-foot conveyor in the previous model. So you've got a large conveyor 100 feet long, or a larger size conveyor. And then in this next model, everything remains the same, except it's a smaller car wash. So instead of being 100 feet, these style car washes are typically going to be 50 feet or less. So they're going to be smaller. These are typically designed to fit on smaller properties, tighter areas, and also designed to be put onto car wash sites where self-serves used to be or in-bays used to be, if the volume numbers make sense. The next model we have is what's called the full-service conveyor. In the full-service conveyor, these have been around pretty much since the beginning of professional car washing when conveyors came in. With this style of car wash, the customers pull onto the lot. When the customers pull onto the lot, they're going to be greeted by what we typically call a service advisor. The service advisor is going to welcome the customer to the lot. The service advisor is going to try and sell them on the higher priced washes or the wash that meets their needs, maybe a detailing service. Once the customer has selected their wash, the customer will typically exit the vehicle. They'll usually go inside to some sort of waiting area. At that point, the car wash will usually vacuum the car. They'll load the car on. They'll prep the car. The car will go through the car wash. When it comes out the other end, it'll be driven around to an area where the employees then are going to come and they're going to dry the body of the car. They're going to clean the windows, wipe the dashboard, do the cup holders. So with this model, there's a lot of labor being used, very labor intensive. This model, when it's conveyorized, it can either have equipment, or in some cases we'll see conveyorized where they have the hand car washing model, where there's employees in there with tools that will wash the car by hand. Though we are seeing, especially in the States, and I think the trend is going to continue here in Australia as well, as labor continues to rise, the cost of labor, and it becomes harder and harder to get individuals that are able to work in the demands that are placed on them, we see more automation taking place. So I think automation will continue to replace labor in the coming years. The next one we have is going to be what we call a flex service model. And the flex service model is very similar to a full serve and an express. We're kind of taking two models of car washing and combining them. So in this model, the customer pulls onto the lot. There's two styles of this. There's the traditional style where you would have a live person over here, or there's the express style where you would have pay stations. The consumer is going to select the wash they want. They're going to go through the car wash. There's going to be a series of free vacuums that the customers can utilize. There's also going to be what's called an aftercare area where the staff will clean the customer's car for them should they choose. So the main difference between this and a full serve or this and an express is that typically you're looking for, as an operator, about 80% of your customers will be exterior only. They're coming in, they're buying an exterior wash, they're riding through the car wash, and then they're going to purchase, use the free vacuums or not use the free vacuums. And about 20% of your customer base will come over to the aftercare area. And in that aftercare area, they will have the inside done. The difference is how many customers you get over in that area is going to be determined by the operator. And what I mean by that is the operator is going to have to determine the number of employees that he wants to have over here. Let's just say the number is 12, and he says, I'm going to employ 12 individuals in that area. And if this area starts to get too busy, where the operator's 12 employees can no longer service the level of vehicles that are coming to the area, at that point the operator would have a decision to make. He can either hire employee number 13, 14, and 15 and continue moving on, or some operators will choose to instead raise the price, and they will use the price as a throttle to bring the volume up or bring the volume down through the pricing of the services. Any questions before we move on to the next segment? All right, so now we're going to take a look at the conveyorized car washing history and kind of go through a little bit of how it got started and where we are today. So the conveyorized car wash history around 1945 to 1949 is when the early pioneers of the industry started coming in and creating what we call the conveyorized car wash industry. A lot of these individuals during that time frame, they grew up in the World War II era. They didn't have a lot of money, but they were hardworking, and they saw that as an advantage. They had a lot of passion for the industry. So this was kind of early on when the conveyor first started. So our company, Sonny's, I'm not going to talk a lot about our company, but just a little bit of our history here. The founder of our company, Sonny Fazio, actually started as a car wash operator in 1949. And the idea, or where he got the idea to go into the car wash industry, was in 1947. You can actually see the copy of Life magazine up here. So in September of 1947, Life magazine, they had an article on the 2-minute car washer. And at this time, the machine was located in Detroit. And Sonny got on a plane, went to Detroit in 1947, fell in love with the idea, and opened up his first location in 1949. He was a car wash operator from 1949 until the mid-70s, and he retired from car wash operating, and then that's when our company got started, was in 1978 as Sonny's the Car Wash Factory. The conveyor, kind of what really took the industry to new levels in the U.S. was starting in about 2000, 2001. You had some of the early pioneers of the express model. So the express model, it came from Europe. A lot of the guys in the U.S. saw something similar being done over in Europe, and they brought it back. And in about 2001 is kind of when some of the early pioneers came in. We had a car wash group called Benny's, another one called Gugu's, and another one called Mark I. And they were kind of the early pioneers of the express model, that low price point, the free vacuums, and the pay station. So that started in the US in the early 2000s. Since then, we've got a little bit of data here on the car wash industry. And I'd be more than happy to share this presentation with anybody that wants the presentation. We can email you a copy of it as well. All the slides are going to tell you on the bottom where our data is coming from. So some of it will be from us, some of it will be from the ICA, some of it will be from industry studies. If it's coming from us, we'll tell you that it's coming from us. But basically what we have here is tunnel equipment sales. So the reason we're showing you tunnel equipment sales is to kind of illustrate the growth in the industry and where we've seen those numbers go. So if you look at this in about 2005, several years after the express concept kind of started early on, the total sales in conveyorized car washing, these were what US manufacturers were doing, was about 118 million. 2007 it went to 135 million. In the US we had a little bit of a recession, so you can see that the numbers came back down, 84 million, 92, 99. But if you fast forward to 2017, you'll see that the numbers were up to 213 million. So you can really see the growth in those numbers, and that illustrates the growth that we've seen in the car wash industry in the US. The other column also shows how much of the equipment being made by US manufacturers stayed in the US versus making it to the international. So the tunnel growth, what we've seen, it's been expanding at about 17%. Most of the expansion has been due to the express car wash model. There's been lots of interest, and we believe that we're going to see at least another 12% growth in 2018. The growth is continuing again, being driven by the demand for the express exterior car washes. In the conveyorized segment, what these numbers show here is these are our own internal numbers, but it'll show you the percentage of car washes that we build, the different models, the express, the flex, and the full. You can see that in 2009, about 75% of the car washes we built were express exterior, while about 20% were in the flex service category, and about 5% were going to be in that full service category. As time progresses, you can see that the express continues to grow and grow and grow. In 2017, 93% of the projects we were involved with were express exterior car washes. So again, that illustrates the growth. Why the growth so much in the express model? Well, one of the things that has always attracted outside people to the car wash industry has been that it's a very good cash flowing business. It doesn't have a lot of inventory and receivables and things that can spoil and go bad like you do say in restaurants. But one of the things that always turned people away from the car wash industry had been the large amounts of labor that were required in the conveyorized industry. So the express has really taken away those large labor requirements, and so we've seen that tremendous growth. Express car washing today. What do we see there? So express, it's easily outpacing the other models. Like we said, 93% of all new tunnels built in 2017 were express. Why? Like I just mentioned, the investors. Investors like the fact that they can get a good return on investment, it's a real estate-based investment, and that there's not a lot of labor in the model. The in-bays, they created additional customer base for express exterior car washing. So in the United States, there was a lot of in-bays. Gas stations had in-bay automatics. The in-bay automatics did a great job at turning customers into professional car washers. They liked the machines, but as the volumes grew and got busier, what they didn't like was the wait times. But the in-bays did a great job of creating demand. What do we see continuing to happen in this area? We see a lot of people that own in-bays and self-serves that are now looking at converting into the express model where it makes sense. The express future. We see that the Extreme Express or the mini tunnels, the smaller ones, are going to continue to grow in popularity. We think there's a huge market for those. The reason we believe that there's a large market for the mini tunnels is we see that branded car wash chains typically do the higher volumes, the higher revenues. So what the smaller car washes allow owners to do is they can go into areas, they can kind of build one big central site, and then they can fan out with some of these smaller ones, but they can really build a brand in the market and become the known brand that people trust and go to get their car washes cleaned. I mean, their cars cleaned, I'm sorry. Secondary markets, the converting of self-serves, converting old gas sites in the U.S., and converting the in-bays at busy sites. So one thing I will say is that it doesn't always make sense to convert an in-bay to a mini tunnel. It's not like everyone is designed to be converted. If you're doing good numbers with the in-bay and the potential is not there to, say, double or triple those numbers by putting in a conveyor, then it may not make sense. So a conveyor is not always the right answer. Sometimes the in-bays at certain locations can be the right answer and get the job done with no issues. This is another area that we believe we're going to see a lot of growth, is with what we call double mini tunnels. So instead of somebody building one large 130-foot tunnel, they do several small buildings side by side. The general rule of thumb when it comes to conveyorized car washing is that a conveyorized car wash can typically wash one car per hour per foot of conveyor. So basically what that means is if you had a 120-foot conveyor, you could wash 120 cars in an hour. So in this case, if you have two 50-foot conveyors, when you're busy, you can still wash 100 cars an hour. So you can still wash the numbers like the big tunnels. But what this really allows an operator is flexibility. One of the most important things to a successful operation is maintaining your equipment and keeping it running at the highest levels. When you have two tunnels side by side, it allows you during your slower times of business to shut one down and perform maintenance on it while the other one is still up, operating and running. So it gives you some also redundancy. If one goes down, you typically have the other one where you're up and running. So we see this model continuing to grow and really start dominating as well.
What's the normal size of lot on that sort of thing?
We'll talk a little bit about that, but usually lots, you're typically going to be, half acre. It typically is what we see. I don't know what that converts to over here. Josh could probably tell that.
22,000.
Okay. With the Express, talking about the double minis, so this is a site that is in the U.S. and in Florida. I'm an operating partner in this site. So this is a car wash that we purchased in about 2008. And when we purchased this particular car wash, it was a 53-foot tunnel, and it had self-serve bays. So we had 4 self-serve bays along here, and we had a 53-foot tunnel over here. The front of the lot, this was just under 1 acre of land. The front of the lot was left undeveloped when we purchased it. And when we purchased this site, it was washing very, for the U.S., what was considered very low numbers, especially for the density that was around there and the traffic counts. It was washing about 2,500 cars a month when we purchased it, which, again, for the location was not very good. After we purchased it, one of the first things we did, we converted it into what we would call an express model, the best we could, without having to do any land work out front. Then the second step we did, we converted into a full express. We put in all these vacuums that you see here in the open land that were free vacuums. And then we also took out one of the self-serve bays and we put in a 24-hour touchless in-bay automatic in this particular bay. This particular site in 2017, we washed 258,000 cars. That was just through the tunnel, which is a really high number through here. And then we just recently, in March of this year, we converted the site one more time. We took out all of the self-serve bays. We reconfigured the lot, and we took out the in-bay and we put in a second mini tunnel. So when we say that we believe the double tunnels are going to grow in popularity, we're actually putting our money where our mouth is with our own site that we actually made the conversion. And in the very first month we opened with both tunnels, we actually washed 34,000 cars at that site, which again is a very high number. Those numbers aren't numbers that you would typically see outside of the U.S., at least here in Australia market. But it does show that the growth rates are there in the same percentages, just not the volume. According to Data Monitor, they believe that the conveyor segment in the express exterior is going to continue to grow because it provides the customers with an exterior wash in a quick environment, and it allows people to spend less time at the car wash, which is important to the consumers. They tell us that time is one of the most important things. The FlexServe model. The FlexServe only accounted for about 5% of locations that we built last year. That actually surprised me. I thought we would have seen the Flex model grow in importance. This is the one where you have exterior and some interior cleaning. I thought we would have seen this one grow in importance, but I guess with the labor situation in the U.S., that number has not gone up. I would have thought this would have been up to probably 20% of what we were doing today, but it's down to about 5%. In areas where you have good income, higher income, this model makes sense and can be very, very successful. It's less labor and easier to manage than a full service or a hand car wash. And you can offer the same type of offerings. And again, that pricing can be used to throttle up or down how many cars are going into the aftercare area. Usually looking for about 20 to 30% of cars washed going into that aftercare area. We believe that the FlexServe model, especially in the U.S., will be used in markets where there's already a lot of exterior car washes and people are kind of looking to make themselves a little bit different and stand out. They will convert to Flex or build Flexes, so I think that those are going to increase being built. More equipment is going to be developed that's going to make it easier to manage and run and do volume in these facilities. Full service car washing. Or this could be full service, conveyorized, hand car washing in this type of model. Only about 2% of the locations, and it says 2015 here, that's just a typo, that was 2017. Only 2% were full service. Very low number. Again, the reason for that is going to be the labor. A lot of the investors that are coming in, they don't want to deal with the high amounts of labor. We do believe that the full service model will continue to be a very successful model. What I always tell people is the full service model is one of the types of car washes where you can make the most money, but it's also the type of car wash where you can lose the most money because that labor component. You're always managing the labor, trying to walk up a tightrope. If you have too much labor, you're not making money. If you don't have enough labor, you're not satisfying your customer. So you've always got to try and find that sweet spot where you've got enough labor to satisfy your customer, but also make a profit. The ones that remain and do well will continue to really grow, but what you're going to have to do to be successful in this model is you're going to have to deliver quick service. The customers are not willing to come in and spend 2 or 3 hours. They've got to be in and out quick. They want professional staff, friendly staff. They want a professional facility, clean, well-run establishment. The express market, for the future of the industry, the express market is going to continue to grow and dominate the landscape, and that's in all markets. I believe we'll continue to see that happen. Secondary and smaller markets are going to be an area for growth with the mini tunnels. Those are going to be continued to grow in popularity. Regional branded locations are going to be the most successful. So people that create a brand in a market, they're going to be the most successful locations. And they're going to continue to pull car washes out of the driveway. So in the U.S., historically, our biggest competitor has never been other car washes. It's been the amount of people that still continue to wash their cars at home. The existing customers at car washes are going to start washing their cars more often because of the unlimited plans and the value and speed, and then most importantly, the convenience that it offers to the consumer is going to drive the volume numbers to continue to grow. Questions? Yes, there is. Yeah, we have site assessment, and most manufacturers will have some sort of site assessment tools where they can help you determine what model would make sense for the property. Definitely, you want to make sure that when you have a property that you're making the best use of that property. And like I said, that may not always be a tunnel. So every manufacturer in rep will have ways of helping you determine what's going to be the most successful model for the property you have. Yes?
The Express, they're all friction washers, aren't they?
I would say the majority of them are friction washes. There are some people that do them touch-free, but the large majority are going to be friction washes. Yeah. But there are some touchless ones out there. They're not nearly as popular, but they do exist.
Do you know how many are here in Australia that do the Express?
I'm not sure how many Expresses are here in Australia. The data that we have on Australia is not, well, the data just on the industry as a whole is not that great. I think Eric Wolf from the ICA showed me a number that said there was about 44 conveyorized car washes in Australia, but how that breaks out what models are Express, I'm not sure. Josh, you might know.
As an Express with a free lap, you maybe 5 or so. It's not a lot. Like Grandwash Auto with that traditional Express with free lap.
So maybe 5? So a relatively low number. We did the first Express car wash that our company did was Grand Wash Auto, which is on the bus tour for those of you that went on the bus tour. And that site was done about 9 years ago, and that was one of the first Express projects we were involved with here in Australia. So the consumers, what do consumers show? Well, consumers, the growth in the car wash industry is going to be largely tied to discretionary spending. So as long as consumers, the economy is doing well, and they have disposable income, we believe that the industry will continue to grow. It's going to allow for more discretionary spending. Households, this is in the U.S., households earning in excess of $100,000 will increase, and that's going to, again, drive more consumers to professional car washes. Some other contributing factors, new and used car sales in the U.S. market have been very positive indicators. We're really seeing that the number of vehicles being put on the road continue to grow. Though it's slowed down from the peak several years ago, we still see that the auto sales and the number of vehicles registered is growing at about an annualized rate of 1.2%. So still positive growth there. More cars being put on the road means more cars that can be washed. Car washing and detailing industry, it was forecasted at an average annual rate for growth about 3.1% from 2011 to 2016. Forecasted to grow at about 1.6 from 17 to 21. What's driving the growth? Again, automated car washing delivers speed. And that's what U.S. consumers, but really all consumers. In every market you go to, people's time is becoming more important, their free time, their personal time, and they're looking for services that can allow them to have more free time. Again, they don't want to give up huge amounts of their time to go sit at a car wash. They want things that are going to be quick and allow them to get back to enjoying themselves opposed to taking up large amount of their time. The ICA, the International Car Wash Association, like we mentioned in the U.S., the biggest competitor for other car washes had always been the driveway. And we've seen that number decline. In fact, in 1996, about 52.4% of people in the U.S. were washing their car in the driveway. Fast forward to 2016, the number was down to about 30.8%. So that's a big drop of people. Why? Again, we're seeing this all over, not just in the U.S. More and more people, the trend is moving away from a do-it-myself to a do-it-for-me. People don't want to commit the time to do it themselves. The do-it-for-me crowd is becoming more popular, meaning that they just want to come in, have the car washed quickly, and be back on with their day. These numbers here show where consumers wash most often, and this is a comparison between 2008 and 2014. You can see the home numbers, the exterior numbers, full service, the in-bay, self-serves, and the hand car wash market in this slide. The industry is growing since more Americans are washing their cars at professional car washes than ever before. Where are they washing? The people that do it professionally, 62% choose a conveyor as the most often choice to wash their car. This was from a consumer study that the ICA did in 2016. And when they asked the people in 16 and 14, which one of the following do you use most often to have your car washed? And these were people that said they only wash at professional car washes. In 2014, you can see 30% were full service. And then in 16, it was 38%. The exteriors, 28, 24. The in-bays, self-serve, and then the hand car washes. 74% of those that wash their car most often at professional car washing do so every couple of months or less. This is data that I think a lot of people that own car washes always find to be shocking to them, how often people wash. So here you can see the frequency of how often people are actually washing their cars. The bulk of people is every couple months. You can see here 58% are every couple months. And then a few times a month, once a week or more. So the bulk is every couple months. What's really cool with the car wash industry right now that's going on is we're going to be able to get a lot more data today and start figuring out a better pattern of how our customers wash, how often they wash, how many unique customers we have, utilizing the license plate recognition, which I mentioned earlier. Now with that type of technology, a car wash can read every single tag or license plate that comes into the facility, and now you can start seeing how often your customers come based off of their license plate. So you can see that this car only comes once a month, this car comes twice a month, and then how many of your customers are unique customers versus reoccurring customers that come back. So a lot more data will start to become available with the license plate recognition that I think is going to really kind of change the way we're able to market and handle our customers. So basically, utilizing that information, it shows us that about 27% of our customers are going to be what we would call heavy users that are going to wash a minimum of a few times a month, and they're going to make up about 66% of your total. 58% are going to be medium users, and they're going to wash every couple of months. They're going to make up about 29% of your total. And 16% are going to be light users. They're going to wash every 6 months or less. They're only going to make up about 5% of your total washes. This also shows that consumers, the older the car gets, the more likely they are to wash it at a professional car wash. So as cars get older, people tend to take care of it a little bit more, which is not surprising to me, but sometimes surprising. You'd think that newer cars were taken care of better, but actually the data shows the opposite. When asking the consumers why they don't wash their cars more often, the top responses, the number one was too expensive, was the number one reason why consumers stated they didn't wash their car more often. It isn't necessary, 22%, and too time consuming, 20%. Then you have, I'd rather do it myself, weather does the job for free, I'm too lazy. Yes, people actually stated they were too lazy. I don't like the service at car washes, it isn't convenient, and location. The reason we have too expensive and too time consuming highlighted in red is because that's a big bulk of why people don't wash more. And we believe that the express model is addressing that because they're able to wash their cars for a lower price and it doesn't take up a bunch of their time. So the express model is giving the consumers what they want to be able to wash their car more often. Why they don't. So the number one reason for washing at home instead of a professional car wash, they stated was cost. This one is one that I love. The number one motivation for using a professional car wash, it makes the consumer feel good. It's an easy way for them to feel good about themselves. People feel better in a clean car. Just like they do in a nice outfit or a nice suit, it makes you feel better. So the emotional rewards outweigh the attributes in terms of motivation. So basically a car wash is a cheap way for someone to feel good about themselves and make their day a little bit better. What do car wash customers want? When they're asked what they want, what do they tell us? They want value, meaning that they want a good service for the amount of money that they pay. They want speed. They want convenience, meaning that the locations are easy to get to. Doesn't take them far out of their way, their daily habits to get to the locations. They want quality and consistency. Consumers state that consistency is extremely important to them. Why does anybody go back to a place they've been before? Because they like what happened last time. And the car wash is no different. They want to have the same experience every time they come. They want consistency. People also tell us they don't like being sold. They'd rather choose. That's where the machines come into play. The consumer is able to choose what they want instead of being sold. They also say they don't like dealing with people. They'd rather deal with a machine, but they want access to a person if necessary. They don't like giving up their vehicle, preparing for a wash. So that's like my wife. I've got some young children, and her car is kind of like her habitat. She's running all over, soccer practice, dance, this and that, and she's got all kinds of things in the car. When she goes to the car wash, she feels like she's got to kind of clean her car before she goes, because she's got to take this item, she doesn't want to leave that out, she's got to put that away and clean it up. So that's another reason that they like the Express, because they know the areas that it's dirty, where they've got to hit it with vacuums. They know where the kid dropped the Cheerios the day before, where to get that under the seat. So that's what they like about the being able to vacuum themselves. They also don't like having attendants in their vehicle. They like, again, that self-vacuuming. People are very price sensitive. Impulse versus car wash investment. This is one of the things that I really see with the car washes, is a full-service car wash, where I visited some locations here, might have been 45 Australian dollars for a full-service car wash. And then you can go to some of the exterior car washes where it's $15, $18. That lower priced car wash is an impulse buy. You don't do a lot of planning. You don't really think about it. You see the car wash in your daily drive, you say, you know what, I'm going to get a car wash. If you're spending $45 or better on a car wash, it's an investment. Meaning that the consumers, one of the first things they're going to do before they commit to that investment, they're going to check the weather. And everybody has a weatherman in their pocket these days. They pull out the phone, look at the weather. If there's any bad weather forecast the next couple of days, you know what, I'll hold off on the car wash. Whereas in the lower price, they don't do that. It's more of an impulse buy. They turn in, they get the car washed, and they go on with their day. This shows by gender. Females are more prone to washing at professional car washes, 54% to male, 46%. And this just breaks out the data a little bit further on the bottom. This tells us a little bit about the consumers and who they are. You can see that the age groups for all the consumers are going to be very close, 40 plus years of age, their income levels. In the full service, you'll see that the age remains the same, the incomes change, and same thing in the exterior. We find that the exterior, it casts the widest net as far as age of customers and economic background, because you have people that don't make a lot of money that choose to use the exterior wash because of the price point and the ease, and you have people that make a lot of money that choose to use it for the same reasons. Questions? Yes, sir.
How do you discuss in your tea room the situation with driverless cars and Uber drivers and the alternative to owning your own car? Who washes those cars?
That's a great question. So his question was, worrying about the industry as far as driverless cars, shared ride services, and that type of things. Actually, the data suggests, I've gone to some events that the ICA has put on where they bring in experts to talk about this, and the data suggests that with that shift, there will actually be more cars on the road. And those cars are still going to have to be cleaned. So I'm not really worried about that. It might change, long term. The industry, it might take it from a little bit more of a retail where it is now to maybe more of a, instead of having to have a prime retail location, maybe in the future, you could be in an industrial area where the cars come to clean themselves. But the driverless cars, it's going to put more vehicles on the road. It shows the studies, the amount of vehicles would be out there, because think of all the people today that would have a car if they could. So blind people, elderly people. It's going to put more cars into the hands of people that typically today don't have them. So I don't think that's a huge concern. Definitely something to think about. One of the things you want to keep up on your board to look at long term. I don't really see it as a threat, especially I would say short term, next 10 years or so.
The second question I'd like to ask is, young people refer to a GPS and they look at their mobile phone and say, I'd like to wash my car. Years ago it was always about the location. Today I'm thinking that maybe if young people look at their mobile and say they want to go to a location to wash their car, it could be in the back box. My question to you is, in America, are car washes still in prime locations, or are they going anywhere out the back for cheaper real estate?
No, prime locations still win. The highest volume car washes are always going to be located in prime areas, again, because of an impulse. So while people do use their GPS to get to places, the car wash is not first and foremost on their mind. So it's more about that impulse. They might have used their GPS to go to a new grocery store in the area, or a new shopping store in the area, and on the way they see the car wash, and again, that impulse, oh, there's a car wash there, I'm going to get a car wash. But they don't really plan out their visit to the car wash as much. So it's still very, very heavily dependent upon location, at least in the U.S. Location is prime. Yes, sir.
Do you have any stats on where the Uber cars wash their cars, or how they wash their cars?
Yeah, the majority of Uber cars and cabs will wash at typically exterior car washes. In fact, in the U.S., some of the highest volume car washes are usually located near airports, like near LAX. There's a very high volume car wash, and the majority of the customers there are Uber and taxi cab drivers that are required to keep their vehicles clean.
Are there any express models that don't require attendants to load the vehicle onto the conveyor, or do you always need someone there?
There definitely is models that don't require attendants to load onto the conveyor. I would say there's precautions and things that you need to do going into it, knowing that you want to do it that way. And I would always recommend that even during high peak hours, you would still have a staff there. But they can definitely be done unattended.
Do you have any troubles with over here there's a lot of hand car washes as a starting them? Every normal car wash would have 5 or 6 hand car wash bays in the same area. It was everywhere. Is that the same thing in America that they're becoming a problem?
No, the hand car washes, they were prominent in the U.S. probably 10, 15 years ago, and they've really started fading away because of the labor. Somebody else had another question? Yes.
Hours of operation, I'm guessing not 24/7.
Typically not 24/7 for the conveyorized car washes unless you're located in an area that could support it. So again, the ones that are near major metropolitan airports, some of those will be open, like New York City, downtown, 24 hours, but most of them are going to be open during more limited operating hours. Sometimes the certain cities, municipalities are going to dictate to you your hours that you're allowed to operate. But some of them are 24, but I would say it's not the majority. Another question over here?
Yeah, I just wanted to know about building consumer confidence with the friction car washes, because I don't know a lot about the industry, but
Yep.
I know that the hand car washes are more popular here because of that nickel damage feeling. So how did you shift that consumer confidence into the express model?
That's a great question. So her question was, how do you shift consumer confidence into the express model, that it's not going to damage, it's not going to scratch? In our customer that did the express here, Grand Wash, which if you didn't go on the bus tour and see it, it's not too far from here. Really good way to go. Josh, where's Grand Wash located? So not too far from here. And they faced that when they first opened, and they had to do a lot of promoting and commercials. And one of the things that they did was they had a day where they got all these people with very expensive, high-end, exotic cars to come out, and they were washing, a Bentley, a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, and they did commercials and they put it out, and that really, basically said if it's safe enough for these cars, it's safe enough for your everyday car. And they have continued year over year. They've grown every year since they've been open the past nine years. But it is an education process. In fact, a lot of people think that the touchless is safer. But if you look in a lot of automobile owners' manuals, a lot of the manufacturers in their manuals actually recommend against touchless car washing because of the type of chemicals that some of them, not all, use. But most manufacturers, especially a lot of the European manufacturers, if you look in the manual, it'll recommend against touchless car washing. Yes, sir.
What's your view on the difference in the numbers between the US vehicles washed versus Australia, and what things can be done here to raise the profile?
I think there's a lot of opportunity here in Australia to wash more cars. I think somebody asked a minute ago, but the question about location. I think a lot of the car washes I have seen in Australia are more of the secondary locations. I think if you build in a prime area with the proper traffic, you can see numbers similar to what we see in the U.S. I don't think they're ever going to be as high, but I think you can see numbers. Even Grand Wash is starting to see numbers that I would say would be in line with what we would see of an average express in the U.S. here currently. Yes, sir.
Just interested in the statistics in relation to washing of newer vehicles in relation to older vehicles. Is that influenced at all by the dealership market providing fleet car washing for new vehicle sales?
Good question. So he was asking about the data on showing that the older cars wash more often, if that was influenced by the dealerships servicing the newer cars. I would say no. What it shows is that, at least in the U.S., a lot of consumers, their most expensive thing they will ever own will be their automobile. A lot of the lower income folks, they don't own properties, they rent properties, and so the automobile is really one of the most expensive things they own, and they're going to take care of it and treat it as such, and really know that they want to get the life out of it, so they maintain it at a lot higher level. All right, we're going to move on. We'll take more questions at the end, but now we're going to look at the evolving owner. So who are the owners today in the car washes? What have we seen change there? Historically, 1950s through 1980s, we saw a big contingent of family-owned and operated car washes. Typically, most people had one location. Very, very few had beyond 5. It was very fragmented industry. Then the outsiders started coming in. The outsiders started coming in. They liked the industry, like I've stated before, but what they didn't like was they felt too many employees. They liked the fact that it was real estate based. They liked the fact that there was no inventory, no receivables. It was a heavily based cash business. It was good margins. So all these things they liked about it. So they started coming in 1980s through 2000s. We saw, the family-owned operators continuing to go, but we had the small private investors come in. These were usually individuals that had made money in another industry. They were looking to reinvest and put that capital back to work, and they were going multi-site. A lot of them would have anywhere between 3 to 15 locations. Then 2000 through 2010, again, the family-owned and operated still around, the small private investors still around. But now we started to see well-funded investors or groups of investors that were coming in and going right to the multi-sites, 10 to 25 locations they would build, buy, acquire. 2010 to 2017, we still have the family-owned, we've still got the small private investors, we've still got the well-funded groups, but then what happened and what really changed in the U.S. is private equity. Large institutional investors became extremely interested in the car wash industry. There's been a ton of consolidation. The number of groups now that are between 25 and 100 plus locations is growing rapid. In the U.S., we've seen tons of consolidation. In fact, a U.S. Private equity firm bought the largest car wash group in the world, IMO. That was bought by a U.S. Private equity firm in Atlanta, Georgia, in the U.S. So the larger investors are coming in and really starting to like what they see in the car wash industry. So what that's done, we've seen a transitioning of the industry. The family-owned people, typically the family-owned folks, they had a territory mindset. So they would say, Melbourne is my area, that's where I live, I'm only going to think about building car washes in that area. A lot of them had been doing it a long time, they had a well-established brand, and they were slowly looking at what was their next move going to be and how were they going to do it. Well, then comes the car wash investor. They're strictly business. They look for opportunity in any market. They don't care where they live. They say, tell me where I can go to a market that there is a big opportunity, and I'm going to move there and I'll build car washes, and that's where I'm going to locate my business to. They were moving fast, especially with the low interest rates, and they were willing to build the express next to existing full services that couldn't be converted. The top 50 U.S. Conveyorized car wash chains, 40% of the top 10 were new to the rankings in 2017. The top 10 have 183 more locations than they did last year. So 758 versus 575, so 32% increase in the top 50 and how many locations they have. That goes to show the consolidation that we're seeing going on currently. The evolving owner, what we believe this has done for the industry, it's been good for the industry. As more and more, I would say, savvy people come into the industry, it's caused locations to have to up their game. It's made the car wash more retail driven than ever before. It's caused businesses to have to go back and focus on the customer and the experience they deliver. And almost all the groups now are operating at multiple sites. Current with both client types today, volume levels we're seeing in the U.S. like we've never seen before. We've also seen with our customers there's a new sense of urgency. What do we mean by that? So the people coming in new to the industry, the new investors that are coming in, they feel like they may be late. They're showing up a little bit too late to the party. The existing people, because of what's happening, they're moving at a faster pace than ever before. And the money partners are getting impatient. Location's hard to find. So what we're seeing in the U.S. with a lot of the money coming in is they're starting to, before where they would always look for, when it was their money, operator would look for an A site or a really nice site. Now where he's got outside money that's kind of forcing him to grow and build and put the money to work, he's starting to settle maybe for C sites instead of A sites. They can continue to put the money to work because good locations are becoming harder to find. And we believe that we're going to continue to see the industry grow at a rapid pace for at least the next 5 years because of the value and speed and convenience that it brings to the consumers. Questions? All right, we're going to take a quick break, allow you guys to use the restrooms just about 10 minutes. So about 25 after the hour, we're going to start back with our next session. So quick break, stretch your legs, and then we're going to go into the next session, which is capital and operating costs. Talk about what does it cost to build one of these and what types of returns can you see. Okay. So the last thing we're going to go through this morning is we're going to talk about the build costs. And when I started working on this, one of the things I was working on is trying to convert everything to what it would be like here in Australia. And in talking with Josh, our rep here, he says, you know what, just leave it in American and they can figure out the conversions. Again, I can help you figure them out if you need to. But even when we do this presentation all throughout the U.S., one of the things we always say is all project costs can vary significantly based on location-specific factors. Because even here in Australia, just like in the U.S., we have some areas where land is cheaper. Maybe in the southern United States, land is cheaper. And then you get to areas like the western United States and California where land prices are extremely higher. So what we're going to give you is ranges as we talk about building these, and then we'll give you kind of middle grounds. So every evaluation is site-specific. So General cookie cutter formulas are helpful, but should never be the sole criterion for decision making, especially if it's your first location. And we highly recommend you utilize resources of someone who has successfully built car washes before to help steer you through the project to make sure you're making the right decision. So the first model we'll look at is an express car wash, and what it costs to build an express car wash, and what are the factors you're going to look for. So typically, to build an express car wash, we're going to be looking for land that's somewhere between 0.8 to 1 acre of land. On average, in the U.S., we see people spending $650,000 to $1.5 million for said land. Again, certain markets we see it much higher. Some places in California we see prices as high as $3–4 million for that same piece of land. The building, typically you're going to need a building, if you're building an average express, of about 125 feet by 35 feet. So that's going to give you a 3,750 square foot building. Somewhere between $700,000 to $1 million to construct said building. Site work, to get the site usable, your grading, your paving, those types of things, anywhere between $100,000 to $300,000. Landscaping and irrigation, $75,000 to $100,000. Site lighting, $30,000 to $35,000. Street signs and building signs, $40,000 to $45,000. Equipment, these are going to be your car wash equipment, your computers, your vacuums, your water treatment, things like RO systems, reclaim systems, all the things you're going to need for the car wash. Somewhere between $600,000 to $1 million for that. Grand opening fee, we always put these in our budgets for building a car wash. We always recommend setting aside money to do a nice grand opening. One of the best things you can do when you do a grand opening at a car wash is wash cars for free. That's going to give you the best bang. It's going to get things ramped up and get it going the fastest. People, the best advertising is word of mouth. And when people get things for free, they tell everybody. So when you start washing cars for free when you first open, say for a week, the word's going to spread. Everybody's going to tell their friends, hey, the new car wash is washing cars for free, and that's going to get the exposure very quick. So you want to budget money aside to pay for those types of things. Professional fees, your architect, your engineers, all of those folks, $65,000 to $100,000. Your permits, your tap fees to get like water lines and sewer lines and municipal fees, anywhere from $65,000 to $200,000. And then startup, working capital for the first 3 months, $100,000 to $125,000. So on the low end, it's going to put it about $2.4 million to construct an express. On the higher end of average, about $4.4 million, and that puts the middle ground at about $3.4 million US dollars to build an express car wash. The next model we have is a flex serve. So if you're going to build a flex serve, you're going to want a little bit more land than for the express. So you're going to want about 1.2 to 1.5 acres of land. So your budget's going to be about $885,000 up to about $1.7 million US dollars. The building is going to be $900,000 to $1.2 million. And then a lot of the other costs are going to remain fairly similar in the same range as the express. But it puts it at about $3 million US on the low side, about 4.8, and about 3.8 is going to be your middle ground for constructing a flex service car wash. Mini tunnel. There's two ways we look at doing a mini tunnel. The first is what we call modifying a site. So modifying a site would be, say you already own an in-bay automatic site or a self-serve site, and you want to put a mini tunnel in. This would be the cost to do that. You're going to have building improvements, somewhere between $15,000 to $65,000. Site work, $10,000 to $20,000. Your street signs, the equipment, everything. So you're going to be about $389,000 to about $671,000 to do a mini tunnel at a site that you already have with an in-bay or self-serve or something like that at said site. If you were to build the site new, you're going to be looking for 0.4 to 0.5 of an acre of land for a mini tunnel. And we've got $250,000 to $400,000 for that. And then you've got your building, your site work, your landscaping, everything there. The mini tunnels are going to come in at about 1.1 to 1.5, about 1.3 in the middle ground. Of course, with any of these models, the largest variable is going to be that land cost. And within reason, you can never overspend on the land within reason. And what I mean by that is we have some people that will look at a piece of land and say, well, this one's only a block away from this one, and this one's $2 million, and I can get this one a block away for $500,000. Well, the one for $500,000 a block away, it's one block away from being successful. So you can spend $500,000 on it, but it's not going to be successful. So within reason, land is going to be, you don't really want to worry within reason how much you spend on the land. It's going to be the most important factor in the success of the business. So what we'll look at now is we'll look at an express exterior car wash, washing about 10,000 cars a month. And then the price points are going to be $5 US for the basic wash, $10, $15, and $20. And then we're going to have the percentage of customers. So we say 45% of our customers are going to buy our basic wash. They're going to come in and just get the basic. 25% are going to upgrade to our $10 package, 8% to the $15, and 22% are going to buy our $20 package. So what that would give us would be an average per car of about $10.35, and our gross sales would be $103,500 off of those 10,000 cars. So basically, what that would boil down to, again, our 10,000 cars, our $10.35 a car, gross sales of $103,500. Then we take off customer comps. Customer comps are free car washes we're going to give to customers for various reasons. So we take that out of our sales. We've got $621 for that. Employee comps. These are free washes we're giving to our staff. We take out $200 for that. Brings our net sales to $102,679. Then we get into pays. So we have a location manager at a $45,000 pay. So that's going to be $3,750 per month. We have an assistant manager at $2,812. Then we have our hourly work staff. Then we have bonuses. So we have a $420 bonus for a location manager. We have a $210 bonus for the assistant manager. You've got all your payroll taxes, employee health benefits, vacation, all of those types of things. So that puts us at our labor at about $12,500 for this site. Then we've got our chemicals. Chemicals that are going to be used to wash the cars. We've got that at $7,750, about 7.5%, or 78 cents per car. Then we have our different insurances, general liability, workers' comp. Then we get into banking, credit card fees, bank service charges. You've got site maintenance, things like garbage, landscaping, advertising. We recommend putting about 3% of your sales towards ongoing advertising. So we've got that in there at $3,000. Then you've got information systems. You've got cash over short. Anybody that's ever owned a business before, when we go through this exercise and they see the cash over short and it's $0, a lot of people kind of scratch their head, because if you ever owned a business where there's a lot of cash, having no over or under is very rare. One of the things that's really nice about the Express Car Wash is the way we account for the money when you're using the pay stations. Those things are like ATM machines. They're extremely accurate. They know exactly every dollar that went in, every dollar that went out, so it's very easy. So typically you're going to have very little to nothing in cash over short. It usually balances out very nicely. You've got recruiting and training, uniforms, security, professional, legal, waste tank pumping to have your clarifier tanks and that stuff pumped out. We're accruing for that about $400 a month. Then we've we've got that in credit card fees.
And the information systems,
That's going to be for like your computer system that you have for the car wash, that you're paying usually a monthly fee for on that for service and support and all those things. Utilities, you've got your electric, your water and your sewer, gas if you're in a colder climate and you need to use gas for heating. Then you're not going to have that every month throughout the year, but you want to accrue for it. You've got phone. So we've got our utilities totals. Then we get into supplies, office supplies, wash supplies, tools, repairs and maintenance. So we've got our repairs, maintenance, damage claims. So even though you're not damaging cars, you're always going to set aside money for damage claims. And that number is getting less and less today. One of the things that's allowing that number to get less and less today is technology. The security systems that we have today at car washes with the high definition cameras, you can really see literally every scratch, nick, and ding on a car before you wash it. And so a lot of times when the customer says, oh, that scratch wasn't there before, you can take them into the office and you can show them the video footage of the car going in and show them exactly where that scratch was. So that number is coming down, but you still want to set aside a little bit. Sometimes you might have a wiper that gets pulled off and you weren't sure if it was broken before or not, and it's a good customer and you don't want to argue with them, so you just go ahead and take care of it. Little things like that. Operating expenses. So that brings our total operating expenses to $35,459.87. Gives us an operating profit of $67,219. Then we have depreciation, $11,190. We have property tax at $2,500. Principal and interest payments on our loan for the car wash at $16,500. So it puts our operating expenses at $65,656.87 and would give us a net unit profit of $37,000. When we add back in our depreciation number of $11,190, it's going to give us a cash flow of $48,212.13. Questions? So now we'll look at a FlexServe. With the FlexServe, we'll assume just for simplicity's sake that it's doing the same 10,000 cars a month. We'll also, just for simplicity's sake, we'll keep our menu pricing for the exterior washes the same at that $5, $10, $15, and $20 range. We've got the percentages of our customers that are buying each package. That gives us an average per car of $8.86 on our exterior side for a gross of $88,600. Then we have our additional services at the FlexServe. So we'll have a $15 and a $20. We got 45% of the customers buying the 15, 55 buying the 20. And then we have detailing services. So in detailing services, we might have a $30, a $50, and a $70 detail service that we offer. And then the percentage of the customers that are buying those. So basically, it's going to bring our total revenue, all of the different areas combined at the Flex, to $143,100. Or it breaks out to $14.31 per car is going to be our average transaction price. So when we look at this in the same manner that we did for the Express, we've got the salaries. One of the things you'll notice in this model, the location manager is costing more than it did in the Express. The reason for that, you're going to need a little bit of a higher level manager at the FlexServe because there's a lot more staff to manage, to train, to develop. So you're going to need a little bit of a higher level of manager there. Then we've got an assistant manager, a second assistant, part-time manager, and then our hourly workforce. We've got location manager's bonus, assistant manager's bonus, the supervisor's bonuses, payroll, taxes, employee benefits, all of that. It brings our labor expense to $20,796. We've got our chemicals. Chemicals are $12,000 or $1.20 per car. The reason the chemicals cost more in a Flex than in an Express is because now in the FlexServe, I have additional chemicals that are being used. I have window cleaners that I didn't have. I have interior cleaners that are going to be used, so there's more chemicals being used in the Flex than in the Express because we're cleaning the insides of the cars now. Then we've got all of our insurance, our banking, our site maintenance, our same 3% for advertising, information systems, everything. It brings our operating expenses to $52,235.89. We've got our utilities, water and sewer, gas, our supplies, office supplies at $100, wash supplies at $1,000. In this model, the wash supplies are going to be more because now I'm buying things like towels and spray bottles, things I didn't have before in the Express, so there's going to be higher expense for those items. Then we get into our repair and maintenance. Our operating profit is $87,577.11. Depreciation of $12,000. Property tax $2,800. Principal and interest $18,383. Puts our total expenses at $85,439.89 for a net unit profit of $54,373.11, and then a cash flow of $66,394.11. We'll look at the mini tunnel now. So in the mini tunnel, we'll look at it two ways. We'll look at the modified site, meaning you already owned the site and you did a conversion on the site. In the modified site, we're going to have the same menu package we had in the other site, 5, 10, 15, 20, mix of cars. We're at $885 a car, our gross of $44,200. 5,000 cars washed, $885, our $44,250. We've got all the same things, customer comps, employees comps. We've got our labor, our bonuses, payroll taxes, all of that, general liability. So all the fees being equal, when we get to the bottom line on this one, you've got a net unit profit of $15,958.84, or a cash flow of $20,018.36. This would be for a remodeled site. If we looked at the numbers for a new build site, your bottom line on a new build site would be a cash flow of $12,000, because you've got to include all the things, the land, everything that you didn't have in the other one. This is again for a mini tunnel. Where things get interesting with any car wash, not just the mini tunnel, but with any of the models, once you hit a certain point and you cover your costs, the amount of profit that flows to the bottom line increases drastically. So how can you put more profit to the bottom line? You can either wash more cars or you can have a higher ticket. In this case, let's say that we have our mini tunnel that we just said we were washing 5,000, but let's assume that we could get that to 7,000. So we add an additional 2,000 cars in the month. What those additional 2,000 cars in a month are going to do to the bottom line is huge. It puts our cash flow now at $27,529, whereas before, on the 5,000 cars, it was only 12,000. So those extra 2,000 are going to put a huge number to the bottom line. Once you hit an area where you've covered your expenses, the amount that goes down to the bottom line is incredible. In the back of this, for those of you that want to have the presentation emailed to you, we've got all the things in here, how we calculated the loan payments and the hours of work, and all that stuff is in there to be covered for any questions you have as far as that's concerned. Questions? All right, quickly we're going to go through some equipment, and I try to keep this as generic as possible because I'm not here to give you guys a pitch on equipment, but just quickly wanted to go through some of the principles when it comes to washing a car. When we set up a wash properly with the equipment, the idea is to be able to get a car wash that's cleaned without any need for manual prepping. So here you can see a vehicle coming in that's covered in mud, actually a little bit of ice on this. This was in a winter climate. And then here you can see the same vehicle exiting without any pre-cleaning done by the staff. So when the car wash is set up properly, you can clean vehicles effectively without any need to pre-clean the vehicles. Here we have a sample layout of a smaller tunnel. This would be a 60-foot length in tunnel. One question that people always ask when it comes to the equipment, that's a very common question I get, is, Robert, can the smaller car washes clean as good as the bigger car washes? Because traditional wisdom would say, if I had a 120-foot car wash, it's going to clean twice as good as the 60-foot car wash. The answer is, you can get cars just as clean in any size car wash. The difference, again, is going to go back to how many cars you can wash. So in the 60-foot car wash, I could get the cars just as clean as I could in a 120-foot car wash, but I'm only going to be able to wash 60 cars in an hour through this. Whereas in the 120-footer, I'm going to now be able to double that and do 120 cars an hour. So the cleanliness is the same. It's just how many of them you can wash in the time frame that changes. So here's an example of a 125-footer. You're going to have a lot more equipment. So as you're going faster, in this example here, we've only got one set of these brushes, which are called wraparound washers. In this model here, we've got two sets of the wraparound brushes. Because when we're running slower in the smaller one, let's just say hypothetically speaking, in the slower one, I might get 45 seconds of this brush contacting the car. Whereas in the other one, I'm going faster. Now in order to get the same 45 seconds of side cleaning, I need two of them to give me that same time because the car is moving much faster through the unit. Today, the manufacturers of all the car wash equipment, the materials have changed and gotten much better. Today we use a lot of closed cell foams and different materials that are a lot more friendly on the vehicles. They're a lot quieter than materials of the past. So the quieter, the more friendly material, it gives a better experience to the consumer as they ride through the car wash. So it's all about delivering a good experience and a clean car. In addition to using different types of friction materials, a lot of foams and different materials, we also use a lot of high pressure water. The high pressure water is going to allow you to get into areas where the materials can't. You're going to get underneath wiper blades, you're going to get inside of wheel wells, you're going to clean wheels. So utilizing high pressure water is important. We've got different machines that can put tire shine, shine the tires at the end of the car wash. So with automation, there's really a lot you can do. We've got blowers that can really strip the water off the cars and deliver an extremely dry car at the end of the process. In addition to the blowers, a lot of manufacturers today offer wiping systems that go after the blowers that can wipe and polish and buff the car to get residual water off, giving a nice shine and almost a hand towel dry finish. So the technology in car washing has really come a long way to allow you to really maximize the car wash for cleaning, effectiveness, and safety for the consumers. In addition to that, chemistry has come a long way. All manufacturers today developed chemistry that is much better than the old chemistry. There's all kinds of different sealers and waxes. The amount of shine that we're in protection we're able to put on cars today through a tunnel, even what we could do 5 years ago, is a huge difference. So really able to deliver excellent finish and shine out of these. The unattended pay stations, these have come a long way. Like I said, with the license plate recognition, all the technology, the consumers prefer dealing with the pay stations. There's so much you can do with the machines today. It's really amazing. So, opportunities. How to further develop a site in today's environment and reach its potential. How to build and further develop your brand, and how to increase your number of locations. There's a lot of opportunity to do that, I believe, here in the Australian market. I think there's huge opportunities here with self-serves and in-bay automatics. Like I said earlier, not every location is right to do a conversion to a tunnel. So if you've got a location that's not right to do a conversion, some of the things you can do to kind of raise your tickets and give your customers a better experience. Gated. We see a lot of facilities that are going to gated. So at a self-service site, you put a pay station at the entrance, and customers pay a flat price, maybe $12, $14, $15 to get onto the property. And then once they're on the property, they can wash their car as long as they want in the self-serve bay. The vacuums are there for them to use. So it's just getting the money up front, customers paying a flat fee to get in and use it. You can move in-bay services off board to help increase your speed. You can move things like drying off board, wheel cleaning off board to allow you to wash more cars through your in-bays. If it's right, you could redevelop the property to an Extreme Express, convert an in-bay automatic to an Extreme Express. A lot of times we'll have people, if they have like a dual site, they might convert one bay to a mini tunnel and leave the other bay with like a touchless in-bay. Opportunities with the twin bays, that's what I was just saying, convert one touch-free to a friction or vice versa. Offer free vacuums. So just because you're not a tunnel even the in-bays, you can offer free vacuums. We have customers that have literally doubled their revenues at in-bay automatic sites by offering free vacuums. You can move in-bay services off board like we talked about, converting. The Express model today, it's really forced all manufacturers to come up with better equipment innovations, better wash materials, better wheel brushes, just better overall cleaning for the customers in a better environment. Demand that makes the Extreme Express feasible, again, we talked about self-service locations are available that can be converted, twin in-bay automatic sites, petroleum sites, closed gas stations, closed business and land opportunities, out parcels that are available. Why are the mini tunnels different? They can give you the extra volume that you can't get out of the in-bays, so a lot going on there. You can do pretty much everything in the small ones you can on the big ones. I just want to show you guys a couple examples of washes that have been converted. So here you can see this site was a twin automatic site. They came in and converted. They left one of the in-bay automatics there, and then the other one they put in a mini tunnel in the other bay. While they were doing it, in addition to changing it, they gave it a nice facelift, just kind of changed the look of the building. Did a really good job. This is during the construction, refacing the building, putting in the mini tunnel. I talked about this site a little bit earlier. This is the site that we have where when we purchased it, you can see you've got all the grass out front. It was a mini tunnel and then 4 self-serve bays. And then we did it in phases. First thing we did, we went in, we put in a pay station, put in new equipment. Instantly, we took it from about 2,500 cars a month to about 6,000 cars per month is what we started washing when we did that. We could never really get past 6,000 cars a month. We kind of stalled there and we stayed in that neighborhood. No matter what we did, we couldn't really wash more. Then we started the construction out front. We spent about probably close to $1 million on the construction process to give something away for free. So we spent roughly $1 million to be able to give vacuums away for free. Something I wasn't going to charge for, $1 million. This is what the site looked like after the conversion. And after we did that, the site went from 6,000 cars. The very next month after we put in the free vacuums, it went to 12,000 cars. And then 14, and then 15, and then 18, and then 20. And it kept growing and growing. It far exceeded any expectations we ever had for it. We never ever thought in our wildest dreams it would do those numbers. It got so busy that we decided to convert it once more, and that's what you can see here, where we tore out all the self-serve bays, tore out the in-bay automatic, and we went to 2 tunnels side by side. So now at this site, I have a total of 4 pay stations, 2 that feed the left tunnel and 2 that feed the right tunnel. And you have 2 tunnels side by side. We took one of the self-serve bays, converted it to the equipment room for the new tunnel, and then made the last self-serve bay into an office and tore the end one completely off.
And what are they doing a month now?
This month we did about 28,000. Our best month since we did it's been a little over 34,000 cars. This is one of my favorite conversions that we did. One of the things we always tell people is when you do a conversion, you've really got to make it stand out for your customers so they know something's different. So this one, if you look, it's just basically a box building, very plain, just a little bit of red trim up top, not a whole lot to it. To this. They did a phenomenal job with this. Up top is basically just an aluminum structure that they built that's got canopy material over it. So basically like a aluminum canopy structure they put on top of the building to give it some dimension, went with bright colors, really did a fantastic job making the customers know that something is different there. So one of my favorite conversions. So a lot of opportunities out there. Conveyor may not be right for everybody, but I believe that here in Australia there's a big opportunity for the conveyorized car wash market. So any questions anybody has? Yes, sir.
I have a couple. One is a lot of recycling of water going on in the States?
Yes, the recycling of water is pretty much mandatory in the States now. in the permitting process, it's very rare that you can make it through permitting today without having them mandate that.
The other one was weekend versus midweek.
Weekends are typically always going to be your busiest days. Typically Friday, Saturday, Sunday are your busiest days.
What have you done to try and ease that across the midweek period, or is that very special promotion?
Yeah, some people will do lower pricing during the week to try and drive the volume during the week. They might do certain specials on the slowest day. Some people will do unlimited plans and give you a lower price on the unlimited plan. If you're going to wash only, say, Monday through Thursday, you might pay $20 a month for that plan, where if you want the ability to wash every day of the week, it might be $35. So trying to drive people into those slower times.
And the last one, do you have much in the way of vandalism as far as those that are open 24 hours without being attended?
When done right, no. I'm a really big proponent of, if you give people something nice and you keep it nice and you treat the customers right, for the most part, they usually treat the business as well. But if you go in and think this is a low-income area, I don't have to keep it clean, I don't have to keep it nice, then they're not going to treat it that way. But vandalism is definitely something that happens. Knock on wood, I haven't had any in the past 9 years, but I would say it happens, but it's uncommon. Yes, sir.
The population in your area there with that 30,000 a month?
The population, I don't know off the top of my head. The traffic count, the number of cars that pass there in a 24-hour period is about 36,000 cars that pass there in a 24-hour period.
Is it in a city or a regional area?
It's in outside of a city, more of a suburb, but it's in a retail area where a lot of people come into that area to shop from surrounding communities. Well, again, I'll be around to answer any questions. You can also come see me in the booth. What's our booth number, Josh? 28, if you want to come talk to me more. I'd like to thank the Australian Car Wash Association and all of the vendors that are here to support this event, and thank you guys for your time. I appreciate it.